Hey guys, Paul Pluta on the ArchieLuxury and the Paul Pluta channel. Today guys, I'm making a video about wristwatches and my advice to youngins in the hobby. This is for 20-something guys. And the name of this video is Don't Let Wristwatches Destroy Your Life. Don't let wristwatches destroy your life. So before we start there, let's do a quick wristwatch check. Rolex Submariner, steel and yellow gold. This is an absolute, I love that watch. Okay, let's talk about this here. And I gotta tell you, I've been doing paid reviews on the Paul Pluta channel for a number of years. I do videos on ArchieLuxury. I get a lot of correspondence, and one thing I find is a lot of 20-something men are very confused in the genre. Okay, so basically you got 20-somethings, they've possibly attained some tertiary qualifications, they've got settled into paid employment, and you know, they've owned a car, they've maybe traveled a bit, and you know, then the wristwatch bug hits them. And it is a very, very confusing world there. What do you get? What do you do? What's the answer? And my honest advice is to any 20-somethings out there who are just getting into the hobby, don't let wristwatches take over your life. Okay? Don't let them take over. They will fuck your life up. Let me explain. And I've seen many men who've gone the wrong way with wrist watches. So what do I recommend? What's the answer then? Well, my answer is, as soon as you get into a decent paid job, soon as you are in a decent paid job, you get yourself whether it is by a credit card or whatever means necessary, get yourself one beautiful wristwatch. One beautiful wristwatch. Now, I'm going to cut this very short, because people get so confused. I like the Amigas. I like a PAM. I like a VC. I like this. Well, look, just stop the fuck. The first wristwatch a man, a male, an alpha should get, there is only one brand. There is only one brand. Okay, now I've even been confused. I've given a little bit of bad advice. I've sort of said there's some cheaper options, but there ain't no fucking cheap option in life. Every man, as soon as they get into paid employment where they're earning, so I'm not talking about, you know, working at KFC or 7-Eleven. I'm talking about a reasonable job. When they're full-time working, they need to get themselves their first quality wristwatch. What do they buy? What do they need to do? What's Archie's advice? They need to buy a Steel Sports Rolex. That's what they need to do. Steel Sports Rolex, no date, 3 hand. 3 hand, I mean minutes, hours, and seconds. No date, just a simple Rolex Steel Sports. That's what every man needs to do. That's what he needs to do. Rolex Steel Sports. Now, it gets tricky because people come out and say to me, oh, well, Archie, does that mean he can't get a Rolex Oyster Perpetual 39mm? Because I like the rhodium dial 39mm, yada, yada, yada. That's okay. You can get that. You've got to get a steel Rolex. Steel Rolex. You could even get a Datejust. You could even get a Datejust is actually a little bit expensive. This is the problem. They're quite dear. Woo! So Datejust, woo, bit expensive. Getting the sub-date, woo, dear. Getting a GMT, woo, dear, dear, dear. So my advice is, you don't want to cheap out, but you want to get some quality solid base. Rolex Rolex 3-hand steel. Okay, could you get an oyster perpetual? Possibly. That's okay. My preference, because this is the Pontiff and I'm telling you what I think you should do, I would go Air King, Explorer 2. No, Explorer 1, fuckers. Air King, Explorer 1, Milgauss, no date sub. That's 4. 4 fuckers. 4 fuckers. Which order would I put them in? Well, I would have to say number 1, I'd go Milgauss. Number 2 would be Explorer 1. Number 3 would be no date sub. And number 4 would be Air King. Okay, those are 4 quality watches. Buy one of those, whatever means. Some savings, a little bit of a loan, credit card, whatever you need to do. Get one quality wrist watch. And that wristwatch, you look after it. You don't treat it like shit. You treat it like the expensive luxury possession it is. You worship it. Wear it every fucking day. Unless, of course, you're doing concreting or welding or car repairs or lawn mowing, when you would take it off and then you'd put it back on after you've showered. Okay, so that's the rule. But other than that, it's on your wrist every day. I had a 1016. I had a 1016, Rolex 1016, L serial number. I bought it brand new. I got a callus on my wrist here from the crown banging on my wrist. 1016 L serial number callus. Can you believe that? So that's what you need to do. You get that watch. Then what do you do after that? Well, that's it for a while. Then you have to, every man needs to, depending on where you're based, but you need to organize some reasonable wheels. You need to rent an apartment. You need to, preferably not sharing with fuckwits. You need to become a man, broaden your education, follow the... And what else you need to do is you need to date and fuck bitches. Then you've got your one watch. Ideally, you would get a second watch. Hopefully you would find a bitch with a little bit of money, so when you give her a 1/2-carat diamond engagement ring, she gives you another wristwatch. Okay? You've got to build your collection slowly. I know I'm not going to name names. I'm going to change the names to protect the guilty. I got a good friend of mine. He's a fan of the channel. I've chatted to him many times. I really love him. He has got a considerable collection. He had at one stage an Air King, 2 Explorer 1s, a shorthand and a longhand. They're both 39mm. He had a 40mm Sea Dweller ceramic. He had a no date sub, and he had something out. Okay, so, and he had a Zenith at one stage. Okay, and in his, so he's got considerable money tied up here, but watches have wrecked his life. He thinks he's an alpha male. He's super cool with this horde of watches, which is, I must admit, very cool. However, to be able to pay for these watches, he's done a few things which aren't really that socially acceptable. He lives at home with his parents. He doesn't have a car. He had a car, then he sold it and put it into watches. He uses mummy or daddy's spare car, which, ooh, it's not that cool. He comes across to the females as a beta soy, a soy beta, a beta soy. You know, they're like a beta orbiter. You know, they're almost there, but they're too nice and polite. But he can't clench the bitch, can't bring the bitch back to fuck. Oh, and he wouldn't pay for sex. This is the sort of thing. They're just, he's almost. And I think in his case, wristwatches have wrecked his life, because he's very much focused on building the collection. The bitches don't understand it. They think he's peculiar. He doesn't have money to go on expensive dates or take them away for the weekend and fuck their brains out. He doesn't have his own car. He doesn't, he's a bit of a cheap fuck. I've spoken to him many times on the phone, and you just get the feeling he's a lovely guy, but he's a cheap fuck. Wristwatches have destroyed his life. He's saving to, and the thing is, he's done such silly things. Instead of getting a Rolex base done, he then churns, and I can't see the progression up. Some of the buy sells he's done, I think, are pretty silly. And he doesn't, I can tell he's not an alpha male because he was recently made an admin on one of the buy sell forums. So I thought, well, help me out, fuckers. These cunts banned me, put me back on. Oh, no, I can't do that. He hasn't got fucking spine. See, he's a beta soy. And this is the whole thing. He's a fucking pussy. He's a beta soy. He doesn't have the balls to say to me, Archie, you fucked it up yourself. Don't ask me to unfuck your fuck up for you. He doesn't say that. He pussies around, just doesn't want to offend anyone. And I mean, I like him. He's a nice enough guy. But, fuck, I just feel he just is lacking. Wristwatches have destroyed his life. He's now in his late 20s. So the bitches on the prowl, all they say is, ooh, he's got a weird hobby. Doesn't have a car. He lives with mummy and daddy. And he's an extremely stingy fucker. How is he going to get pussy if he comes across as that? See, in your 20s, you need to be getting service delivery. There are certain service delivery expectations a man has got to have. So in his case, he's built this mammoth collection, a collection of a millionaire, but he's sabotaged his own life. He's sabotaged his own life to do it. And I feel so bad for him because he is a really cool guy and I like him. But he's done this damage himself. What he should have done is he's got one beautiful Rolex, use that to help his career. He should have had a bit of money to have a decent car, to date the bitch. You just don't go out there and date bitches with no money. He had reasonably good looks. He's a bit of a suave, sophisticated individual. He could have possibly used that watch to marry someone who had money and help his career. Use the bitch as a stepping stone to your progression and success. But no, he comes across as a cheap fuck. It's kind of sad. I love him. I love him to death. But watches have destroyed his life. They've destroyed his life. And I don't know what to say. I have no idea what to say. He should have built his collection slowly, got one decent Rolex, then got another one as a wedding gift, hopefully from her family, hit them up for a fucking sub date or a Hulk or a Batman, and then in his 30s he could have got a Reverso Grande. Then he could have got another couple of Rolexes, maybe a Tudor as a promotion gift, and then hit the big time, get a Patek Philippe. I look at this, he could have had such good progression, but he fucked it up. Wristwatches have destroyed his life. I can just see him he's missing key life steps. He's not dating the bitches because he's a cheap fuck. He's putting all his money into his collection. And even though it's a massive and impressive, he's lost the game plan. He's missed out on the whole game plan. And you can't say anything. You get offended. I've kind of changed a few facts to protect the guilty, but he's a lovely guy, but he fucked it up himself. All because he got too involved in the hobby. You can do that after you've got to get some bitches. It's just these are This is survival of the species. If we all did what he did, the world would just collapse. The secondary market would collapse because there'd be no young'uns to take over the collections. Therefore, the prices would fall. So you've got to procreate. You need to procreate and get new fuckers into the hobby. That's what you need to do to keep the prices up. So yeah, it's a very, very, very sad thing indeed.
Gotta go, gotta see things, see new faces and brand new things. Gotta go places and do things, maybe to forget it.